So I want to describe my experience from my school living exams, because I believe it can be something very interesting, even if you have already gone through those exams or if they are still waiting for you to pass them. And the thing is that I was not prepared at all. Like the week before the actual exams, I actually consider it to be like a hell week, because it was one of my worst periods of my life and I was just stressed. I didn't know what to do, and it's connected to the fact that I wasn't prepared at all. And I actually wanted to prepare. Like at the beginning of that week, I started preparing with one of the subjects or for one of the subjects, and eventually after 3 days I kind of stopped preparing. I started procrastinating like crazy. I wasn't studying at all. And the worst part is that I was preparing for a subject that I was actually pretty knowledgeable about, and it was civil studies. And biology was the second subject, and that was something that I had zero knowledge about almost, because for that subject you actually need to study. Whereas for civil studies, if you read it and you are paying as much attention as possible throughout your reading session, then you will do pretty fine. But other than that, I was also prepared for it in general, because I was learning and studying properly throughout the years as I was in the school and stuff like that. Whereas for biology, I wasn't really studying throughout the years. And so that was the subject that I was supposed to study the most or prepare for the most, but I neglected it completely. And so the stress started building up. I had horrible thoughts in my mind. I didn't know what to do, because basically I needed to pass those exams in order to be able to do anything in this system that was created in my country, and I believe it's the case for most of the other countries as well, that it's the basic level education or level of education which you need to have in order to be able to do anything in life. And so I was pretty stressed since I wasn't prepared at all. And the third subject, which I didn't mention, was English. Those were the three subjects which I was going to have my exams from. And throughout that week it was horrible, like I mentioned. But towards the end of the week, so I had around 3 days left till the exams, I started to feel the pressure, and so I was I need to actually start studying now, because it will turn out to be pretty disastrous. And so I started studying properly this time, but since I only had 3 days for 3 subjects, I decided to divide those 3 days for biology and for civil studies. I will have to pay attention here in this part, because the cars here are going pretty fast. And so the thing is, and so I divided those 3 days for those 2 subjects, and I completely decided to forget about English, because that's actually one of the subjects which I would pass no matter what, because it's not so demanding compared to the subjects where you actually have to study. You have to actually have some sort of knowledge, whereas in English you have to say or know at least some facts, but other than that it's mostly about you being able to speak and being creative maybe, and being able to think critically throughout that examination. And so I wasn't worried about English. I was mostly or mainly worried about the other subjects. And so throughout those days I went from morning till evening, and I was studying like crazy. But even then I managed to go through 50% of biology and maybe 30% from civil studies. So it was pretty bad, and there was a huge chance that I wouldn't be able to pass those exams, because I wasn't prepared at all, as I mentioned. And the stress was building up because I wasn't prepared. And before the end of those 3 days, I knew that it wasn't going to be enough, that studying from morning till evening wasn't going to cut it. Because as I mentioned, I only managed to go through 50% from biology, and so there was 50% chance that I wouldn't pass, and it would be a pretty bad thing to go through and experience. And so I was I need to add something to make sure that I will pass. And that one thing was visualization. And it's not the one that everyone talks about on the internet that's pretty popular. It's a bit different. And the thing about it is that it uses the laws of the universe, but I'm not going to go into detail because it would be for too long. And since it uses the laws of the universe, all you have to do is to understand those laws and try to work with them. I started visualizing, but I decided to do it in a way that I would visualize before the examination, and I would visualize myself as I am leaving the classroom with a happy expression on my face, but actually also feeling those happy emotions. And what's funny is that I will cut to the actual point, is that as I was leaving my first examination, which was civil studies, I was leaving the classroom in the exact same way as I visualized it. And that's the power of the visualization. And as I left, I was happy because I knew I passed. That was the main point that was the main goal of mine. I didn't really care about the mark which I would get. I mainly focused on just passing those exams. And what's funny is that eventually when they gave us the marks, I got the best mark, which was A, or 1 in my country. And so that's just ridiculous. I wasn't prepared, but I managed to get the best mark. And what's even more ridiculous is the fact that afterwards I had English in the same day. And in there, I was super stressed at the beginning. I was worried that I wouldn't know what to talk about as I was preparing for the examination, because you have 20 minutes for preparation and 20 minutes for actually speaking about it, about the topics which you took out. And after the preparation, as I was about to start talking, I was still stressed, but eventually it became somewhat fun, because some of the topics were a little bit connected to self-improvement, and so there was something I definitely could talk about, and it was actually pretty fun. And afterwards I left the classroom exactly in the same way as I visualized for that examination, and so that's just funny. And when they gave us the marks, I realized that I had, and again, the best mark, which was A. Afterwards I only had biology left, which was going to be on the next day after those 2 examinations. And so when I got home, I prepared as much as I could, and then again I visualized how I had a happy expression on my face as I was leaving the classroom, and how I was thanking the examiners with just happy feelings overall. And when I got to the classroom, I was pretty calm. I was trusting the whole process, the visualization. And when I took out my topic, because you have to pick out a topic from at random, because we had all the topics written on the small papers which were folded, and they were all placed on the table, and we were supposed to pick at random. And once I sat down on the table to start preparing, I knew right away that I would pass. And so what's ridiculous is that as I was preparing, I almost started to smile, because I knew I would pass for 100% already. And eventually, when I was supposed to start speaking, it turned out to be again completely the same. I left the classroom, I thanked the examiners, and I had a happy feeling inside, because I knew I had passed already. I knew I managed to do it in such a way that I would pass. And as they called me for the results of the examination, I got again the best mark, which was 1 or A. And still till this day I can't comprehend the power of that visualization. Of course, it's the combination of the effort which you put in, the actual effort. For me it was the studying, but also it's the combination of your trust, your belief with the visualization. And in general, just to summarize, I got from 3 examinations 3 best marks, which is completely I can't comprehend it, since I wasn't prepared at all, and I still managed to get the best marks from all of the examinations. And it's an important lesson, or something that I want to share with you, and it's something that I have made a video course about because I believe it's truly life-changing. And there I am not talking or describing the one visualization technique that everyone talks about. Of course it has like the same foundation because it's still a visualization technique, but it's built on the laws of the universe, which is something that those on top, but I don't mean like the billionaires or the millionaires and stuff like that. That's the typical thing that everyone says. But I mean those people that are above our presidents, above all the countries, and they basically rule the world. And they plan to create like, I don't know how to say it in English, so I will probably say it wrong, but they are planning to create a regime where they will be the only ones like ruling the world. So they still didn't manage to do it completely, and so that's their plan. They also want to create digital currency and stuff like that, but that's for a completely different video. What I want to say is that those people wouldn't want you to know about these techniques, because this visualization technique and the laws of the universe, that's just a part of all the things which you could know and which they don't want you to know. And that visualization technique is something that I definitely want to spread and let the general public know about, because the powers of that are ridiculous. Like, the only restriction which it has is your mind and your belief system. Because if you believe it, or if you believe what you visualize, it will 100% happen. The problem is that most of us just can't believe in certain visualizations that we do. I struggle with it till this day. Like, for example, when I'm visualizing a parking spot, and that's actually a beginner's visualization, but I visualize it for a parking spot which is in a location where there is a super low chance to have a free spot. And it's actually an experience from today. I just couldn't bring myself to believe that visualization. And so of course it didn't come true. But if you actually believe it, like I did with my examinations, school living examinations, it actually happened. And so that's the ridiculously overpowered strength of that visualization technique. And of course you have many different types of visualization techniques which also tap into those laws, but this is something I have came up with or adjusted throughout my journey, and school living exams were like the beginning of that journey. Then I had my calisthenics competition, which I managed to get a third place on, which was again visualized. That was another thing which added to my knowledge about this technique. And now what's actually happening currently is that after I dislocated my knee, I am trying to heal myself using this technique. But of course I am doing it in a bit different manner, because healing visualization is a bit different than the normal one. And that's what I wanted to mention in this video. Like, I hope that you understood everything that I was saying, and I hope that you will implement it in your life, because it's life-changing. Like, those on top wouldn't want you to know. That's why mainstream doesn't share this kind of information. I can guarantee that you have never seen or heard anyone in the mainstream media talk about the laws of the universe. And the reason why is that it's information which they don't want you to know, because it has crazy powers. But what I have realized recently is that many things are starting to get like shared and spread even throughout mainstream media, and that's because the times are changing and people are starting to be more open to new ideas. And that's also why I decided to make this video. Maybe like 1 year ago I wouldn't even want to make a video like this, because I would probably get a ton of hate for that. But right now it's actually acceptable. Like, people are starting to accept this kind of information, and all the like things that were considered to be conspiration theories they are starting to come true, like all of them. And so why not at least try something that I am talking about, like this visualization? Why not at least give it a try a few times? And if you don't know how to go about it, as I have mentioned, I have made an online course, a video course, which you can check out. It's super cheap because it's in the testing phase, and I didn't want to overprice it, since I still might make few adjustments throughout the time, and so you can catch a pretty cheap price right now at the moment. So definitely check it out if you are interested. And so I hope that this video was valuable for you. It's completely something different than what I used to talk about till now, or what I have been talking about. And if you are interested, you can watch this video next.